Hi, this is Alex from PHP Academy, back with another video for the new Boston. Now, in the last part of the tutorial, we created our table, which is inside our database called a database. We created a table called users, then we inserted some manual data in, just so we can test our login process. So we're going to write a process to log this user in. We inserted this data here, the username with Alex, the password was this MD5 hash, which we'll deal with later, and we've got first name and surname. So we've got our hash for security reasons. When we're logging in, let's just get rid of this that we used earlier. When we're logging in, we need to convert the password that the user specifies and see if that matches the same hash, because as you know, MD5 is a one-way algorithm and the result will always be the same. Okay, so we need to think about how we're going to set up our files. Now, I'm going to have an index.php which is going to check if the user's logged in and display specific content if they are logged in or if they're not logged in. So we're going to have something similar to the following. We're going to say if logged in, display something, otherwise display something else. We could even use an if else if statement, or if else if, sorry, and we could say not logged in, and we're going to create this function which is going to check to see if session data exists or if a session has been set and if the session isn't empty. So we'll get rid of that for now, but that's just a general idea. We're going to sort of say in here, we're going to say something like welcome, and maybe specify the user's name here. And then for this we're going to say please log in, okay, and perhaps display our login form. So we'll leave index.php for now. We're going to create a new file which is going to connect to our database. So let's say connect.inc.php. We'll call that connect.inc.php. So the first thing we want to do is we want to specify the host name, the username and the password. So MySQL host, in my case that's equal to localhost, and in most cases that is. If you're running on a local server, if you're trying to connect to a remote database, you'll need to specify the host name, but for now it's localhost. For me, the MySQL user is called root. These are the default settings, and because I'm using default settings, my password is equal to nothing. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to specify what table we're going to connect to, and that is, or the database, sorry, MySQL database. The database is called a_database, and this is found, let's just pop into phpMyAdmin here, so a_database. Okay, so now we can connect, so I'm going to say if MySQL connect, and then we can pop our variables in here. So the first variable is MySQL host, that's the first argument we pass through to this MySQL connect function, and then we say MySQL user, and then we say MySQL password. So if this function connects successfully, anything inside this block here will be executed. So we can then say let's say if MySQL connect, and then we can say we could say and MySQL select database, and the database we've obviously predefined in this variable MySQL DB. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this around, and I'm going to say if this is unsuccessful or this is unsuccessful, then we want to kill the page and we want to specify the MySQL error. And that's with brackets there. So this we're echoing out the contents of this function, or the value returned from this function, which is the error last received from MySQL. So if either of these don't connect, so if we don't connect to the database itself, the server itself, or we don't select the database correctly, then we kill with an error. Otherwise we just carry on with our code normally. So we're going to declare or require this file at the top of everywhere where we need to connect. And the reason we do this is if we had, say, 5-10 files here, instead of writing this code 5 or 10 times, we just include this file here. So let's go ahead and test this connect.inc.php by including it inside index.php. But I'm going to require it so we kill the page if this file cannot be found. So connect.inc.php. Let's come on to our browser and refresh the page. Okay, you can see that nothing's come up, so hopefully we haven't returned an error. But now let's force an error. So I'm going to put local host instead of local host. Let's refresh, and you can see that unknown MySQL server host localhost. So we've retrieved an error. So okay, let's change that back, and we'll change the database name to a database 1. And let's refresh. And you can see we've returned an error saying this is an unknown database. So we know that either way, if we don't connect to the server correctly or we don't select our database correctly, we always echo a MySQL error out. Now, upon completion of development, you may want to change this to a error message in here as a string. This just means that then it's a bit more user friendly for your users rather than outputting the content or the return value of MySQL error function. So for now, connect.inc.php is complete. So now what we want to do is we want to create a page where the user can log in. So I'm going to create this as an include file. So what I can do is then in this if statement that I create inside index.php, I want to show that form, if you like, to the user. So let's go ahead and open up a new file. We'll start some PHP tags, and I'm going to call this login form.inc.php. So let's go ahead and start creating the form itself. Let's go down and start to create our form. So this form is called, oh, and just by the way, these includes depend on how your website works. So when we're using, let's say form action equals something there, which to end our form. When we say form action, I'm going to specify the page that this is currently included in. So eventually this action is going to equal index.php, but I'm actually going to be using one of the predefined server variables to determine which page this is included in. If that doesn't make sense now, it will do later. But for now, our method's going to be post. Okay, so our action, what's going to happen here? We need to specify a variable up here that's going to tell us what our page is logged in, what page we are currently on. In fact, I might create a new file we'll call this core.inc.php, and we'll include some just variables, some predefined variables in here.